Welcome. I'm Emily Agnew at Luminous Listening. Welcome back if you're a regular watcher, and if you're new, thanks for coming and checking this out. Try and do these informational videos that will give you a better understanding of the trait of high sensitivity and how focusing and bonding can help you with that. And today, I want to talk about some specific ideas about handling newness. Newness is an issue for us as HSPs because we're sensitive to stimuli, we're environmentally susceptible, we process and feel and think deeply. So when you add the newness factor in, it even increases this tendency we have to get over aroused or over in the sense of overstimulated. And if we're not careful, sometimes we may just kind of avoid new people, new experiences, including things we would really love in the end if we tried them, because we're afraid. And one of the reasons that we may be afraid is, as kids, our trait may not have been recognized or understood, and adults around us may have mistaken our hesitance to jump in to new experiences as being a scaredy cat or being wimpy. And we can learn not to trust our own inner sense then of what we even feel safe doing, right? If our sense of that's not supported. To give you an example, in 7th grade in gym class, we were supposed to do the vault for gymnastics, where you pelt down, bounce off a board and fling yourself over the horse. And we were supposed to plant our hands and do the splits out to the side and sail over the horse. And this is an example like where I succumbed to the pressure. I had already internalized that voice, so you shouldn't be scared. And I did the vault and I fell hard, but I knew in advance I couldn't do the splits. I knew I couldn't do the vault. So I shouldn't have done the vault, but I didn't trust myself, right? So, because like in gym class, there just was no room for, oh, you're afraid. Is there some way we could modify this skill? So know yourself, right? This is under the category of anticipation of newness. Like you can anticipate how you'll respond to new things by knowing, like think about your history, how you were treated by your family, by people, important people in your life around your reaction to new things. And that'll tell you a lot about how you tend to treat yourself. And see if you can adjust that internal treatment towards the kind, patient, understanding end. Not the, okay, honey, it's okay if you never want to do anything again and just stay in your room and play video games all day end, because that's not great either. You wouldn't have wanted your parents to do that as a kid. But how can we make this manageable for you? The arousal of trying something new. So, think about how it was for you in the past. And then if and when those feelings come up, because that's kind of traumatic, to have something like the vaulting thing happen, it lowers your trust in yourself as well as the actual experience being scary of flying through the air and landing on your head, which I did. So you want to stay present, okay? Presence means saying to yourself, I'm sensing something in me that's scared, like getting a little bigger than that place in you that's afraid of getting over aroused. It hesitates, it holds back, it says, oh, I don't know if I want to do that. Because we both want to honor it without letting it run the show. And just like the parents could do in that kind of situation where they don't necessarily condone you never trying anything just because you're not sure you can do it, but they support you in how do you make that manageable. So you slow down, I'm sensing something in me that feels hesitant or overwhelmed, and keep it company. And notice also then from that place of presence the actual sensations that are coming up around the newness. Like, is it really pain? Is it really fear? Or is it excitement? I mean, fear and excitement are they're kissing cousins, right? So just really being super, super present in the moment, Like, for example, for me, when I take a new class, I took a new class last fall with a group of about 13 other people. We could all see each other online. And at first, I felt a little bit wary. I tend to project that others are being critical. I tend to have critical thoughts. And I just know myself now from experience that that's a newness reaction. It's just a way that I react to the stimulus of having all these new people I don't know. And I know I just am kind to myself. It's like, it's okay, it's going to be fine. And 2 weeks later, it's hard to believe I ever even felt like that. So that's an example of like me being present with, the part of me that's feeling a little wary, holding it, just kind of remembering how it is down the road for me from past experience. So that brings me to the third thing. We had sort of anticipation, staying present. And the third thing is discernment, which is, using your knowledge of yourself and your presence, the information you're getting in the present moment based on being with, to discern, is this something I want to do? What's needed here? Is this really too overwhelming? I mean, some things they're not worth it to us. It also has to do with being connected to your values, right? Like we'll do things, that are sometimes quite risky. Like some people love, climbing, big mountain climbing, and it's very risky, but it's worth the risk and the stimulation and the intensity because of the whole act is so meaningful to them. So you have to have that discernment. And I think of, I'll give you an example. I was fitted for contacts back when I first got glasses when I turned 40, and I put them in, and oh my gosh, I mean, I didn't know at the time that this was a highly sensitive reaction, but it felt like I had boulders in my eyes, and I just instantly rejected them. Forget it. Now I know from experience, had I left those in, just like told myself, it's okay, it's all right, just give it a chance, probably a week later, I wouldn't have even noticed that I had them in. Same thing when I first got glasses. If I had the tiniest smudge on my glasses, I'd be like, oh, what's that massive fingerprint? And I couldn't stand it. Now, I think if you cracked an egg over my glasses, I'd notice. But they can get pretty dirty, and I just tune it out. That's an example of kind of sensory sensitivity reducing over time. So I think I probably would have really liked having contacts. It's too bad. It's too late now. But that's an example of something I kind of missed out on because I didn't know how to be with newness. So I guess just to conclude, looping back to the anticipation, that's kind of what I would do is if I've discerned that an activity is something that it really is worth it to me to try to do, just to say, look, I know I may get overwhelmed at moments. I may feel something in me, may feel like pulling back or withdrawing, but I know I will enjoy this if I hang in there. And what's the worst that could happen? If I don't, I'll get overtired, or I'll leave early, or whatever, right? You can have an exit strategy too. And I personally bias towards trying things because I am not a high sensation seeking HSP who would automatically go towards news, experiences. I tend to be biased against them. So my partner and I have a deal. If we're on the fence about trying something new, we always say, yes, let's do it, right? I mean, assuming we've parsed the risks and all that and the expense, and we're just like, should we, shouldn't we? We lean towards yes because our bias is already weighted in the other direction. So just take that into consideration too, particularly if you're an introvert, non-high sensation seeking HSP, because being too in really is as big of a life risk as getting overstimulated every so often. So more articles about this, all different things at my website, www.luminoselistening.com. I hope this is helpful. Send me comments on the blog post if you like. And I take requests too. Sometimes people say, will you write an article or do a video about such and such a topic? So if there's something like that, just email me and let me know. And thanks for watching. Have a great day.